Well, good evening, freedom seekers. It is Monday evening, which is then time for another weekly update. Last week, I talked about this week and how I was going to be going on vacation with my girlfriend. But then I also talked about doing this week's update. And then she reminded me afterwards, what was I thinking? Because how am I going to do this on vacation? We're going to be up in the mountains and camping. And so it just worked out that there's one location here and where there is an internet access. And so here I am, and really excited to be here too, because where I'm coming to you from is I'm coming to you from a nudist club in Estacada, Oregon called Squaw Mountain Ranch. And it's my first time here. It is just absolutely beautiful place. You don't have to be a member if you're from out of the area and all that. You can come in. They have a day use fee, like many clubs do, and that's $20 per 24 hours. It's like we got here today about 4:30, and so for between now and tomorrow at 4:30, then there's a day use fee for me, which is $20, a day use fee for my girlfriend, which is $20. So it's $40 for us to enjoy the facilities that they have here. And then they have RV spaces, and they have campsites, and we're tent camping. It's $10 a night for a tent campsite. If we do want electricity and things of that nature, it's right there at our site already, but then they charge an extra $5 per night. And so we're going to be staying here. It's Monday night. We're going to be staying here and leaving on Friday. And so the 4 days, which is what Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. That's 4 nights. Then the 4 nights, it costs us $160, and it's just such a lovely, lovely place. We called around because if you've been following me, then many of you know that I am very conservative with regard to the COVID virus. And our plans were to go to Zion National Park this year. She had made those plans last year, and she had put money down on a condominium arrangement where then she wasn't able to get all that money back. And so she lost out about $200 because we're not able to, or we just decided that there's just no way we're going to go to any of the national parks, even the state parks. And so, we thought, well, what are we going to do for our vacation? I mean, she took the time off from work, and I came up then from California to Ventura, California, to spend time with her in Seattle, Washington. And we didn't just want to stay home for the vacation, but she is every bit as cautious as I am with this COVID virus. She is in a very she's the national compliance officer for a company that does the medical malpractice insurance for thousands of hospitals in the United States. All the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers at thousands of hospitals, and she is the compliance officer, which means that she has to make sure that in every state that they operate in, that they're insuring hospitals in, which is just not every state. Then she has a coworker that she then that handles half the states, and then she handles half the states, and she has to make sure that they are in compliance in all the stuff that they do. If there's a medical malpractice case that somebody files, then got to make sure that with each state has their own different regulations, and that the filing all gets done with each state properly. There's just a lot of things that go into it, and if they goof up, then these states have fines as much as $20,000 a day that they'll fine the insurance company for every day that they are out of compliance. And so she's got a job that she's got to make sure that she knows what she's doing, but it's the same thing that she gets these reports about what's going on with COVID-19 and all the hospitals and the staff. For instance, one hospital recently, a doctor, one of the doctors had gotten COVID-19, but that doctor is asymptomatic, which means then that the doctor would never get sick or nothing, feel, know anything. And so the doctor then was wandering around the hospital, ended up spreading the virus to every single nurse and doctor at the hospital. They literally had to end up shutting the whole hospital down. And who knows how many patients ended up getting it. And but then as soon as the people started to get the virus, the healthcare workers at the hospital then started, because they would go to their break room, when they're in there with patients and stuff, they're using high levels of precaution. So they'd go to their break room and so forth, and they'd take, and just be normal. And that was then how the virus got spread, and they were able to trace it back to this one doctor who happens to be asymptomatic and had no idea that she had it, but she spread it to the whole hospital. And so anyway, there's just really interesting things that stories I hear about from my girlfriend, Chris, and as to what's going on out there. And there's a lot of things that you can't tell me because of privacy and things like that. But like I can't know what that is and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things that's just very interesting. So my girlfriend, she is every bit as cautious as I am with COVID. And so when we wanted to go on vacation, we knew we weren't going to do our national park tour this year. We're going to go to 2 national parks in Utah. And so we were saying, well, what do we feel comfortable doing? And I thought, well, if we could find a place where we could go camping, then that could be a lot of fun, and we just would be very relaxing and kind of chill, And so as we started to even read about, the state parks, she suggested that when I drive up from California, maybe I could drive up the Oregon coast and kind of scope out that situation, what things the camp facilities and parks and things are there. But I mean, I just read the reports, and I didn't even need to drive up that Oregon coast. I knew that it was just this craziness going on because everybody is wanting to get out of their homes, with all this social distancing and everything. Everybody's wanting to get out of their homes, and so they're heading to the beaches and to the parks, and it's creating a lot of problems. And I knew then that we wouldn't be comfortable at so many of the places. But like Kat and I, we went camping at a National Forest Service, which they're much more remote campsites. And so we started looking into that. But then suddenly I thought, well, why don't we look into some of the nudist clubs that allow camping? And, we might find a nudist club that would be a lot of fun to go to. We checked out with a local one in Washington State that I really would love to have gone to, but we would have had to go up on Saturday or Sunday when they have staff there, because they do a lot of security and background checks at these clubs. And so we would have had to arrive on Saturday or Sunday to have all the paperwork filled out and them to do the security background checks, and then for us to come back on Monday, which is when we were going to start our vacation. Because on the weekend I had an event to do and to attend, and I couldn't be there. So I couldn't also then go up for the weekend, and so that meant that we couldn't go camping at that facility. So we just kept calling around. We called around facilities in Oregon then, and some beautiful nude camping clubs or just nudist clubs in Oregon. But the thing is, so many of them also, they're not practicing very good standards for COVID-19 safety. And so I called and talked to them in depth and in detail. Finally found this one, Squaw Mountain Ranch in Estacada, Oregon. That really is it's not even an hour. Well, it's about an hour's drive by the time we get here to the ranch. It's about an hour's drive out of Portland. And like I said, we'd never been here before. They've got 19 acres here. That there's a lake here that has a nice dock on it, so you can go down there. But like they have permanent residents here as well. And right now, this week, we're going to be here Monday through Friday. Well, my girlfriend and I we're the only people here that are visitors. Everybody else here are permanent year-round residents, and there's really only about 10 people here for the whole day. And so, it's like 19 acres here, and there's plenty of space for us not to feel that we are going to be having a problems with COVID-19 and our high level of caution that we take. And so, of course, we got here about 4:30, and then started setting up camp and unloading the car and setting up camp by 5 o'clock after we checked in, filled out the paperwork. They did the background security checks and all those kinds of things that they do. And then as soon as I did all that, then I put the sweatshirt on because we're we're in a forested area, and so there's lots of shade here, and it was starting to going to be cooling off. I could tell it was a very beautiful day today, but it was going to be cooling off, and so I put this sweatshirt on, and then I took my pants off, and so I was naked from the waist down, and I just really, really love being naked. And tomorrow I probably could take the sweatshirt off and have my pants off and be totally naked. And as I do, I just love being naked. Hey, thanks for joining us. And if you have any comments or questions as I ramble on here, then let me know. And also, if you don't mind putting a comment in and letting us know where you are coming from, what state and what city or what country if you're out of the United States. But I'm going to get started here with my report in just a moment. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight, though, is this idea. It's going to be a little bit of a different report, being that I'm on vacation and didn't really put the hour of preparation that I typically put into before I even start these weekly reports. But one of the things, like last week, I spoke about, and if you didn't catch the video from last week, I think I made some good points, and I talked about what is your next step, and so this week I kind of want to tie into that, because one of the things that we have noticed over the years is that for a lot of people, the next step of if you're in a monogamous relationship, for instance, or if you're just a single person and not in any relationship, but you want to live an ethical and consensual non-monogamous life. And if you're in a monogamous relationship and you want to live an ethical and consensual non-monogamous life, sometimes to take a step into this world that I live in, and I just love living in, but that's too big of a step for some people. For other people, it's not. You have to determine that for yourself. But for some people, that's just too big of a step, and a much smaller step to take in getting started is going to a nude beach or a nudist club like I am at here. In Ventura, where I live in California, we are about 30 minutes from a nude beach, and we just love going to the nude beach. Don't go nearly as often and as much as we would like to go, but it's a public nude beach, and we just love going into the beach and getting nude and having an afternoon of sunshine and relaxation at the beach. We run into the Pacific Ocean, and then we come back out and lay on the beach and dry off. So it's just really a wonderful time. But for many people, that being able to be nude and the experience of having public nudity experience is a liberating experience. It's a scary experience if you've not done it before, but it is so liberating for those who do take and just say, that's what I'm going to do. And so that could be your next step. If you think that it's just too big of a step to jump into having sex with other people, or if you have a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife that you're working with, and that's just too big of a step for you to take and even talk to them about, then take a smaller step, and say, hey, let's try this idea of being nude in public. And and be sure that when you find a place to go to, like my very first experience, I remember years ago, my wife and I had talked about it for a long time. She and I then even looked up, because we were still in our religious Christian days then, and we looked up, about what the Bible says about nudity, and we wrote some letters off to some people that were on the radio as being preachers and authorities, and they sent us back all kinds of stuff telling us how sinful and terrible and awful it is to be naked. I just really can't believe some of the stuff they sent me back. And so, my wife and I, we really always we enjoyed frequently, every year, every 2 years, going to Palm Springs, because if you live in Seattle where you got rain, 9 months of the year, then to get off somewhere in the middle of that rainy season where it's going to be warm and sunny and just beautiful, someplace like Palm Springs is a nice place to go. And so on one of our trips to Palm Springs, we'd go and stay in Palm Springs for a year. And in one of our trips to Palm Springs, I suggested to my wife, and I said, "Hey, this is before we ever talked about opening our marriage, so we're still monogamous at this point." And I said, "Hey, there's this place here. It's called Terracotta Inn now. It's no longer owned by the same people. It's no longer a nudist place, but it had a real because there's multiple places in Palm Springs area where you can go and you can be nude. But this one particular place called Terracotta Inn, it was a place where many people had their first nudist experience, and so kind of had a reputation for being just this great place for a first time nudist experience. And so, I talked to my wife about it, showed her the reviews on the place, and she says, okay. And it was a clothing optional, so that meant that she didn't have to get naked, but I could. And because I love being naked, and so yeah, as soon as I got there, I got naked and was enjoying time laying around the pool with other people laying around the pool, and everybody's naked except for my wife. She wasn't about to be naked. And one of the rules common though is at these places, um, like at Terracotta and even here where I'm at, is that the hot tubs are naked. You cannot get in a hot tub or a swimming pool with a bathing suit on. And so every night at Terracotta Inn back in those days, at 5 o'clock, then they hosted a social hour from 5 to 6, where they had cheese and crackers and wine and things like that that they served to everybody, all the guests in the hot tub. And they had a huge hot tub. The hot tub would probably hold, I don't know, 20, 30 people. And so, but you got to be naked. And so I got myself, over to the hot tub and just had wonderful conversations with people from all over the United States that had come to be there and be naked, and just talking to them, learning about their experiences, and just had a wonderful, wonderful time, munching on the cheese and crackers and having some wine and a conversation with all the people in the hot tub. We're all there naked and having a good time. And now one of the things that sex is not involved in these places. A lot of times you have to look at, like there's a place in California that Kat and I've been to called Freedom Maker, where yeah, you can go and camp out there and you can have sex, anywhere except for inside the actual swimming pool and inside the hot tub. But around the swimming pool, you can have sex around the swimming pool. You can have sex on the lawn. You can have sex out in public anywhere you want. And so that's also a wonderful experience. And you can have sex with other people. A lot of people will swap, and things like that. But so anyway, but there are places that don't allow any sex at all. And so my wife felt that could be safe for her. And so she was willing to give that a try and then allow me to be naked. And so we just went for a day pass. We had a place that we're staying at there in Palm Springs, and then we just went for one day and paid their day fees, like they have day fees here. And so we went and enjoyed the day there. And my wife never got naked. And at the end of the day there, though, in fact, we were the next day we had to fly home, catch a flight, come back to Seattle, and and so as we were on the flight, she says, I think the next time we go to Palm Springs, I'd like to actually get naked and try that myself. And because they just made her comfortable being able to be there, in her bathing suit and lounge around the pool. And she felt comfortable. There were naked people around her. And so she says, yeah, I think I'd like to try being naked. And so, then we were looking forward to doing that, but then Terracotta ended up selling. The owner sold the place, and but so we had an opportunity at another time then to go to a club, a nudist club in Washington State, where she got naked, and was naked in public. In fact, that particular club was not a clothing optional club that we went to. It was a nudist only club where you required to get nude. And so you want to check into these places to find out, one, do they allow sex, out in the open? And most of them, if they're family oriented, will they allow kids to be around and stuff, and then they don't. And so that'd be one thing to check into. So make sure that it's comfortable, that taking that small step of just being able to be naked. And then another thing to check into is do they allow children? Because a lot of places do. This place where I do, and some adults are just freaked out the fact that there's naked kids running around. There's naked kids that are looking at adults that are naked, and I don't know how you feel about that, but that's something you have to work out between you and your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, and things like that. But so work that out, and so then find a place then that is going to be suitable for you. For me, it doesn't matter if there's kids and or not. And then, and so then the idea that you want to find out also, is it clothing optional or is it nude only? And because, like I say, the place that my wife and I ended up going to in Seattle, it was, or not in Seattle, but Washington State, it was nude only. But by then she was ready to go ahead and get naked. And other places, though, they're clothing optional. And clothing optional means that, yeah, like this place is clothing optional. Clothes are an option. And so you don't have to be naked. And so these small steps really help to liberate you. I've talked to so many people over the years that have moved from you're liberating yourself. And that liberation is a process. It's a journey. It's a process of taking small steps, like I talked about last week, and you just keep taking those steps and kind of map out for yourself what those steps are. And but so a first step for you may be then to go on a vacation, or just for a day, to a nude beach if you have nude clubs or nude beaches in your area. Now Seattle has a nude beach, and so it's part of the public park system. And after many years of the local nudists trying to get that to go through, or maybe just a nude event where, like in Southern California, I belong to the Southern California Naturist Society. And through that organization, they have nude bowling, they have nude yoga, they have nude swimming, they have nude pool parties that don't involve any sex. It's just nudity. And so those are the kinds of things that are really good first steps. And those help to liberate your life. And that's really then what we come here every week, is to help you to take those steps to liberate your life. And I use my own examples and my own experiences of how that things have worked in my life. And then I take you through then what I do to liberate my life today. Because yes, I'm still not liberated. You see, because even though I'm sexually liberated and I'm relationship liberated, and that I don't have, these ideas that monogamy brings to us about ownership rights when you have a spouse or a girlfriend or boyfriend, where then they have ownership. I don't have that. I have, committed relationships with more than one woman. And like here, I'm with my girlfriend Chris, and she's monogamous to me. But she knew from the day we got together 11 years ago that no chance I'm going to be monogamous. And so, that's her choice if she wants to be monogamous, and I'd love to have her be non-monogamous, and Kat in California is non-monogamous, obviously. She was non-monogamous before I met her, and it's just been a beautiful, beautiful thing for us to be able to take and enjoy time with our friends. And so, speaking of that, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch my screen now over to this point, and I'm going to share my screen to the document that I use every week, and that way I can go ahead and go through that. And let me just get there. Okay, and so yeah, one of the things that usually do all this cleanup before I start, so that you just are seeing the document itself. Okay, But so the weekly wrap up video report, you see, because yeah, so I'm liberated with my relationships, I'm liberated with my sex life, but my financial life is not liberated yet. And so that's where it's the very same steps that I'm going through now to liberate myself financially that you may be going through to liberate yourself as well. And so we're really I come here every week to tell you about my process and then to really have a topic to talk to you about your process. And so, as the note says here, the weekly wrap up video report, transforming your life, helping you transition to and thrive in an ethical and consensual non-monogamous life of your choosing. And that's a life where you have more sex with more people more often. And oh boy, I tell you what, I really love this life, and yes, when I'm with my girlfriend in Seattle, I'm kind of in a monogamous situation, and this whole thing with COVID-19 creates it even more of a limitation, puts a real damper. But on the other hand, this COVID-19 has also provided us the opportunities to create some new relationships with people that are just as careful as we are with our health. And so, for instance, I have a girlfriend, I call her my slut in training in California, that, before COVID-19, I hadn't had sex with her. I had some conversations with her because she wanted to come out to a party. I host a monthly hotel party in California. I don't now. I stopped doing that in March. Actually, my last hotel party was in February. And so I don't do that anymore. And I don't imagine I'll be doing it for the next couple of years as long as this COVID-19 is going on. But she's 40 years old and she has been in 3 relationships in her life. That's all. She's only had sex with 3 people, and and they were all like these very limited vanilla type guys that really didn't want to explore and do much. They didn't want to try vibrators and didn't want to do so many things. And so you had desires that have always been wanting to just be in a relationship to be able to let loose of her desires. And so I started talking about her turning into a slut, and that she just loved that. She says, yes. And I said, just being a slut simply means that you're going to fuck more people more often, and so she loved the idea of that. And so COVID-19 comes along, and I canceled the March hotel party, and she was planning on going to that. And so a month after that, she's chatting with me, and I said one Saturday, I said, well, what are you doing today? And she said, I don't have any plans. So I talked to her, and she's a stay-at-home person. She doesn't have a lot of exposure and risk out there in the community or with other people. And so we talked all about then safety. And we had that conversation. And I said, yeah, well, what are you doing today? And she said, well, nothing really. And it was a Saturday. And so I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we get together and have sex then? She's not bi. Kat is bi, and so because she's not bi, then this gal is then Kat didn't participate, and she has roommates, so that she can't have sex where she lives, and so I went and I picked her up and I brought her back to my place where Kat and I live, and we just had a wonderful time, and then started having sex once a week from that point on, and of course now she is just left in wanting right now, and I'd really like to help her find some guys that can help her to have more sex with more people more often while I'm gone. Like I said, she's a slut in training, and I really want to help her to find some guys that are going to really take good care of her. And so one of the things that COVID-19 has done is it really has helped us to find some people who value their health as much as we do. And she does her health, and would like to find some guys that value their health just as much as well. And then the other thing is that Kat and I, we prefer bareback sex, but we call it safe bareback sex because we don't take risk at all. And so with that, then this COVID virus thing, we've always carefully, very carefully, we are highly selective sluts, Kat and I, because we are very careful about who we have sex with, and we screen them and stuff like this. And we don't just do one time. We want to be able to develop relationships with people where we're having sex with them ongoing. And so now we've got, I told 2 weeks ago about a couple that we've met now that they take the same level of and measures of COVID-19 safety as we do. And so we had that conversation with them then about finding out if they keep the same level and standards and practices for COVID-19 safety. And then after that is then also safe sex safety. Do they keep the same set of practices and standards that we keep? And do they have testing and things of this nature? And a lot more to safe sex than that. And but so then we found that yes, they keep the same level of standards that we do. And so we've had some just wonderful, lovely bareback sex with them. And Kat is going to have sex with them this Friday because the woman is bi and Kat's bi, and that way she'll get to play with the husband and she'll get to play with the woman, and she'll just have a lovely time. And this is what liberation is about. I don't get in a situation where since I'm not there with Kat, well, you can't go and have fun. No, I want her to have fun. I want her to get fucked up really good while I'm gone, and I want her to be able to have bareback sex while I'm gone. And but I know, like, she just trusts me and knows me that I'm going to not go off and have sex with someone that is going to create a risk for COVID safety or for bareback sex safety. And so these are all steps in liberation, because when I started out with all this, everything was going to be having 100% protection. In fact, my wife and I, when we opened our marriage, our safe sex list of do's and don'ts was so long, and our rules were so many. And I've been talking a lot more about safe sex education and stuff like this, and what are reasonable levels of protection. And for Kat and I, then, when we first started playing with other people, then it was playing with people using condoms, and even Kat and I, for the first 6 months, maybe not 6 months, about 4 months, we used a condom, and when we first got together, and as did Chris and I. But then we started learning more ourselves and understanding who is safe to really be having sex with and who you're taking a risk with when you have sex. And so these are things that I'll be sharing more in the future videos with you as well. But we have these weekly wrap-ups where we have this conversation and such. And so going back to my notes, then yes, take a step of nudity, and you find that it can really help to liberate you. It can be a step of liberation in the direction that you want to go. And if you're in a relationship with a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, sit down, and if you freak out about talking to your significant other about like having sex with other people, then how about just getting naked and going to a place where you can get naked with other people, where there's no sex involved at all. And so that can be the next step. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about problem orientation and creative orientation. The only thing I was going to mention on that is that, you see, there are two orientations in how people approach life. One is called a problem orientation, and that is where people look to fix the problems in their life, and the other is creator orientation. I was like you in that I was looking always to try to fix things for so many years. My wife and I, when we had difficulties and problems with our sex life and in our marriage, we would go out and try to fix it. We'd do a lot of different things trying to fix it. And that was the problem orientation. But, what the problem with that is that when you solve one problem, you just get another, because you're putting your energy on problems, and whatever you feed is going to grow. You're going to get more of it. And Kat and I, when we got together, about a year and a half, 2 years into our relationship, we had problems in our relationship. And so we did what we had both handled and done with our previous relationships, and that is you try to fix the problem. And we started focusing on trying to fix the problem. And we just weren't really making any good progress, because we just found that we had more problems to fix then. And so what we did is that one day I said, I came and we were going to work on our problems. We usually spent 2 to 3 hours a day a couple of days a week working on our problems. And there's a number of different things that we did to work on our stuff. And so what happened then is that one day I said, do you realize that what I teach is totally different, and what I've been trying to teach you since we started our relationship, but you just haven't really understood it, is that whatever you put your energy to, it grows, even if it's not what you want. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're putting all of our energy to our problems, and that's not what we want. Instead, you've taken a look at what you want, what you do want. And so we sat down and we talked about, what do we want in our relationship? And when we talked about that, then we said, okay, well, we're not going to ignore the problems. We're just going to put it on the shelf right now. And we're going to start to focus on what we do want in our relationship and what we do have that's good in our relationship. Because that was all not getting any attention at all. None of our energies are words, our thoughts, and our feelings. And so that wasn't getting our energy at all. It was our problems were getting our energy. And you know what happened? Within just a couple months, our problems all went away. Imagine that. Because you see, part of the process, that principle I teach, to what you put your energy to, what you feed your energy to, that's what grows. And the other part of that is that what you don't feed your energy to, it starves, or and it'll starve and it'll die, or it'll go somewhere else, like a cat or a dog that you're starving, it'll go somewhere else to live. And that's what we found, is that when we took and starved the problems and fed our energy to what we wanted, then we actually started to create and have what we wanted, and the problems just went away. So I'm going to be talking more about this next week, so I hope you'll join me next week when I go into all that. And so let's go on though this week though and give you my weekly wrap up here. And so the wrap up that I have for you then, of course, every week we review our overriding desire. And so I want you to be able to utilize the same format for yourself, and that you think about your own liberation. Like right now, the steps for me to liberate now, there were 3 areas that I talk about when it comes to your liberation. The first area is your sexual liberation, which involves your sex and relationship. And so, look at what do you need to liberate in your sex life and in your relationship. The second area is your health and wellness. Okay, can you do all the things sexually that you want to do because you've got great health? Or are you starting to decline a little bit and not be able to have the same capability as you used to? And so then maybe you need to pay a little bit of attention to your health and to liberate yourself, because what we do is we follow the advice given to us by the doctors and everything, and that ends up creating dependency and limitations and restrictions. And there are ways to liberate yourself with your health. And so that is a second area to look at. A third area to look at then is to liberate yourself financially. And so for me, my first step was my sexual liberation, because that is where it changed my life and changed my energy. Sex was so liberating, and it brought about these other changes, as I talked about before, that in monogamy, I had gained nearly 120 pounds, and I was a fat old boy. Well, not old. I was 49 years old when I opened my marriage, but there I was, a fat boy, and I realized that I was turning 50, and I got to turn that around. And so I started to enjoy having lovely sex with lovely people, but I wanted to have more choices to have sex with people that would consider looking at me and say, yeah, he's hot, I want to have sex with him. And so with women, they would say that, instead of saying, women would look at me and say, oh, I don't want to have sex with that big fat guy. And so I had to start turning some things around and to liberate my health. And so I went through that process, liberated my sex life, liberated my relationships, and then had to start to liberate my health and wellness as well. And so then the third area is what I'm working on liberating now, and that's to liberate myself financially. And so I have a desire, my overriding desire now then is to create an ongoing online passive income of $5,000 per month, and then create an online non-monogamous lifestyle academy. Now we've already got that kind of up and started a little bit, but we're going to be focusing and doing a lot more with that. And so we have two overriding desires that I'm working on, and that is to create our online non-monogamous lifestyles academy then, but then also create this ongoing online passive income of $5,000 a month. So I can go anywhere and travel anywhere as long as like I am here. As long as I've got an internet signal, guess what? I can go ahead and make my living. I'm not stuck anywhere. And so those are my overriding desires. So take and follow this format and write down what is your overriding desire as well. What is your overriding desire to liberate your life sexually? What is your overriding desire? And that $5,000 a month, that's just the step that's the next step that I'm working on. That's a small step. That's a 90 day to, that's a 3 month to 12-month step. That's achievable for me to do that in the next 3 to 12 months. And so that would be the thing for you to focus on your overriding desire, is something that you think that you can achieve and you can do in the next 3 to 12 months. Might that be going on a new vacation, or might that be, actually inviting a friend over to have a threesome? What is your next step? And so then the next section here, the weekly report. I've got the three sections I talked to you about: work and wealth. And that for me then is at the top, because that's where my liberation is coming at. But then down here, I've got the other sections. Oh, where'd we go with that? Oh, there we go. Work and wealth, and then the section of sex and relationships, and the section of health and wellness. And so you want to list all three sections and list them in order of what you really need to work on. Like for me, the work and wealth is the one that I need to work on the most now. For you, it might be your sex and relationships. For you, it might be your health and wellness. Whatever it is, whatever you need to liberate yourself from the most, then that's what you want to put out. And then you simply take and start asking yourself, okay, well, what am I going to do this week? Now, then last week, this is my report where I take in and report to you what went on last week, and that I wrote these things down last week. And then for my work and wealth, it was empty, clean, and show my bus. I have this 1958 Greyhound bus that's converted into a motorhome that I'm selling here in Seattle. And so I had a lot of cleaning to do in it, so that it was going to be, and then I had a lot of my stuff stored in it, so I had to remove that stuff, clean, and then I've been showing it. And right now I've got a couple offers on it as well, and good offers. And I told everybody that by next Sunday I'll be accepting an offer and making my decision on it. And so so I had to empty, clean, and show my bus. I've done that. List the coffee roaster. I used to be a commercial coffee roaster, and I have a coffee roaster and a commercial coffee grinder and other equipment that I'm storing, and I really need to sell it. And I kind of hate to let go, because I'm a coffee connoisseur, but I just need to go ahead and get it sold, and so I'm going to list it for sale. And so I have to give myself a fail on that. I did not get that done last week. Sort and empty one tub that's stored in the bus, and I give myself a pass on that. In fact, we're here camping because my camping equipment was all stored in the bus. I had in these tubs, and so two of those tubs came here camping with us. Continue to build my online stores, thehomnudist.com, and I give myself a pass on that. Week 8 of 12 of magnetic mindset certification training, and I give myself a pass on that. And attend a 4-day magnetic mindset training event for coaches. And that was really a tough thing to do last week, because it would start at 9:30 every morning, and 9 a.m. every morning, and went until 9:30 every night. And so it was for 4 days: it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I had to work all these other things around that. But yes, I attended that event, and even then took a couple breaks and worked in some appointments to fill the bus as well in between. And then do my lenses every day. And the lenses is a process that where we're able to focus in our list of things that we're doing each and every day, our three top most important things that we do every day. And so that's a process that we teach in our coaching program. And so if you're interested in coaching, just get a hold of us. My email address is down there in the description. And so I give myself a pass. I did my lenses every day. And so of all of those things on my work and wealth list, then there was only one thing that I had to give myself a failure for, and that is listing the coffee roaster, grinder, and equipment. And I hope to try to get that done this coming weekend. And then the next thing is sex and relationships. Get ready for the camping trip with my girlfriend in Seattle. Well, I did that. And make vacation plans with my girlfriend for next week. And so that's where we're here now. And so, yes, I give myself a pass on both of those things. Health and wellness, meditate daily. I give myself a pass on that. I did a daily meditation, and I really enjoy that time. Um, Going on free walks, total fail. I didn't get one single walk in last week. Oh my gosh. So this week, yes, I'm going to get a lot more walking in. Take the allergy cocktail. These are essential oils that I take, and yes, give myself a pass on that. Doing 2 recodes was a goal, and I total fail on that. Didn't even do 1 recode, and so that's my accountability to you. And so we're going to go from there then to what's coming up this week. And where is that? Here we go. That's on hold this week. Yeah, I did not take, there we go. Focus for this coming week. Focus for this coming week then is to show my bus. I've got some more people on Saturday and Sunday that are going to be looking at it, and show my bus and then find a buyer by 8 o'clock Sunday evening. I've told everybody that get their offer in before 8 p.m. because then by Monday at 8 p.m. I will make my decision. Listing the coffee roaster, grinder, and equipment for sale. And so I hope to get that done this weekend after we get home from our camping trip. Short and empty, 1 more tub that I have stored in the bus. I still got to keep working on that. Can't get them all done at one time, so I just chose that I'm going to do 1 every week. So that's on my list this week. Continue to build my online store, thehomenudist.com. And I'm going to still set that as a goal this week, and I hope to be able to get to that this weekend. I'm not going to do any of that during my camping trip, but I hope to get some of that done this weekend. Week 9 of 12, my magnetic mindset certification. I'll do that from camping as a campsite here, because that is a fixed time on Wednesdays, and so I'm going to be doing that. Yes, that's my goal for this week. Find the lost tabs in Chrome history. I'm not going to explain that to you, but that's on my list, and I'll let you know when I give a pass or fail. Open documents that are closed when the computer shut down. On the trip from Ventura to Seattle, where my phone, my computer was in the car, and it kind of just sat down at one point on me, and I lost a bunch of documents that I had opened that I hadn't saved yet, and so I got to find those, and so that's what that's about. Do my lenses every day, and so yes, I want to get my lenses done every day, and I will do that. Then as far as sex and relationships, simply enjoy being on a camping vacation at a news club with my girlfriend, and have sex then with her, maybe even a couple times a day. Health and wellness. I'm going to take and meditate daily. I want to go on 4 walks this week since I didn't really get into any last week, and be easier for me to do that on vacation. The walk typically for me is depending upon how much time I take for it, anywhere from 2 to 5 miles when I go for a walk. I hope to actually do a hike or two, which that I consider to be one of my walks. And the hikes are usually a little longer. Take the allergy cocktail daily. And so that's my goal for this week as well. And then do 1 recode this week. And so those are my goals for this week. And so you write down your goals as well, using the same format. What is your goal for your work and wealth? What is your goal for your sex and relationship? What is your health and wellness goal? And write down then so you can hold yourself accountable. And then the item that is the most important, put it at the top. the item that is least important, put at the bottom. So for me, the least important is my health and wellness, because I turned that around, 13 years ago. I started working on that, and I've worked on it, and I've turned that around. I'm not in perfect health, but it's not something where I have to work on as much at this point in my life. My sex and relationships, and that's just something I'm going to constantly be working on, because I still want to have more sex with more people more often. And so, I want to make sure that I have the relationships in my life so that I can have more sex with more people more often. And then the work and wealth, where that is the area right now that I am not yet liberated in. And so that's where I need to focus my time and energy. And so thanks for taking this time with me tonight. And let me know then in the comments section if you have any questions. And I'll be back here next week and hope to see you then. So until next week, have a great week yourself, and I'll see you back here next week between 8 and 8:30. I get started every week, and I'll see you then. Bye.